where brevity is paramount.
Hello and welcome to episode 20 of Chet and John's reassuringly finite gaming playlist. My name is Chet Roivas. With me as usual is John Denton.
Hello.
Over the next 40 minutes or so, John and I are going to take it in turns to go through the 10 games that we've been playing over the past week. We're going to go back and forth, make our way from 10 to 1, number ones being the two games that we've been playing the most over the past week. We're both fortunate enough to work in the games industry, so hopefully it's going to be new and upcoming stuff rather than old shit. So, yeah, John, number 10.
Right, straight in number 10. Just a quick one. Been doing a bit of Pixel Junk 4am this week, just a little bit. I've talked about it plenty before, as have you, but I just like sticking it on when, just as a, I said it before and the word sucks, but just to center myself a little bit. I can't think of a better way of describing it, so I'm just going to use that annoying word. Just really good way of kind of taking my brain out of the day and enjoying the music for a minute. It doesn't really feel like a video game. I put it on to get into that video game mode in terms of how my mind's working. More the opposite. But yeah, very nice piece of work.
Have you? I haven't played it since like the week I bought it. Is the tracks sustaining it so far?
Yeah, I mean, there's so many small little alterations you can do to the tracks, and I just kind of get into the loop, really. I mean, in an ideal world, there'd be hundreds of tracks, and it would be less. Well, deep house. We couldn't work out what it was called, could we?
Deep house sounds about right.
Yeah.
I don't know if the beat's the same speed, but I mean, you're an arsehole if you're that pernickety about bloody dance music.
Yeah, but I mean, in terms of dance music, personally, I tend to prefer stuff with a bit more energy. But I don't think that would work as well in this game because it's all about the very small changes that you make when you're mixing it with the move. But yeah, really good. I'll probably play it every now and again for a long time.
Yeah, I need to get back on it. It's a bad boy. Okay, my number 9 is my number 10 is Ring Fling on the iPad.
Oh yeah.
Picked it up. Had a few games with my girlfriend. Really, I mean, it is what you said. It's just very it's a genius idea because it's so simple. Very, very, very entertaining. But I kind of perhaps we're spoiled by how good 69p iPhone games are. Was there really? It's not a game that has much business being a quid more than that.
Yeah, I know. I took that more as the guy needed to pay his bills more than anything else.
I mean, it's good. I mean, I'm probably going to get as long as I have an iPad, I'll get the money's worth out of it. But it's just the presentation's so basic, and
yeah, I don't really disagree with that. It does overprice itself out of the market a little bit.
Yeah, it's a shame because it could clean up if it was 69p.
Yeah, I don't really disagree. But yeah, I think after I picked it up and then read the guy's blog, and it's just one guy, so I was just like, everyone needs to get paid in this life, and it's still pretty cheap, really.
It is. I mean, it is very good, and it is in the grand scheme, it is cheap. And you know what? Like I said, over the course of my iPad's life, I'm sure it's going to come out several times.
Yeah, it's just a good laugh, isn't it?
Yes, it is. There's unlockable gameplay mods. Did you unlock any of those?
Yeah, as you play, they'll just unlock after matches.
I take it they're not fundamental changes.
They aren't huge changes to the way the game plays. They're more like little perks that affect everybody, like a much bigger ring, or the rings you fire out do more damage, like they're heavier, stuff like that. So, or one where your little zone where you're trying to get the thing in expands over time, but they'll sort of come on randomly during a match and last about 10-12 seconds and then stop. So it just makes the action more exciting. Because he's got it so they unlock, the more you play, it just gives the game more variety and a bit more reason to keep playing it. It
doesn't really need that, but yeah, as I said, very good. Would have been excellent if it was half the price, but yeah, hey ho.
Yeah, I ain't gonna hate. Number 9, a game that was half the price far too quickly, unfortunately. Shadows of the Damned, a game that you and I love.
Yeah.
As I said, I'm on a bit of a Suda tip at the moment, which is ridiculous as I still haven't finished my number 6 Lollipop Chainsaw, but I thought I'd stick on Shadows because I finally got it back off my brother, who I lent it to, and he never even played it, which is his favourite special move. So I just put it on, played the very, very, very beginning on hard, and just excited to play it through again. Really criminal that... Not really criminal, but it's just a shame that a lot of people maybe didn't quite get it, and or played a bit of it, didn't get on with the humour straight away and thought the whole game would play exactly like it does at the beginning. But if you know anything about Suda's games, they always changing as you play them, and so many new ideas come through. And like a Nintendo game is always full of millions of ideas, and they're always brilliantly executed. A Suda game's like the guy that got sacked from Nintendo for his ideas not making sense, but still, by the end of Shadows of the Damned, you've been through so many different crazy things and crazy ideas, most of which hit, I'd say. Yeah. I'd take that all day over something a bit slicker that is one note.
No doubt. I mean, I had to compile a list of my 10 best games of the year or whatever, and if I was being honest, that would have been number 1, because I enjoyed that so much, and after I got it, I didn't play anything else for probably about 2 weeks, because I played through it about 3 or 4 times.
You did, didn't you? I remember, yeah.
You couldn't stop me. I do love that game, and it's... Oh, yeah, well, it's great.
Yeah, and it pisses on Resident Evil 5 as a Resident Evil sequel.
Oh, yeah, and to be honest, it pisses on Lollipop Chainsaw, much as I love it.
I think it probably does.
To be honest, I think Lollipop... well, we'll get to that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love Shadows. Fucking great.
Yeah, I really hope... You can probably get it for about 40p now, so... Yeah, it's a slick game. It's a slicker game than his other games, I'd say, in terms of the mechanically, because you've got that real Shinji Mikami influence in there. Yeah, and it plays properly.
Love it. Okay, my number 9 is a game called Diversion, which, as far as I know, is only on Android phones.
Damn, getting the Android in there.
Yeah, my girlfriend.
How's this happened?
My girlfriend's got like 6 phones, and she said She said this game is great. I tried it, and it's really nice. It's really good. It's a platformer, but all you do is jump, so you're always running. That's never, that's constant.
Right.
There's loads of secrets. There's loads of unlockables and stuff. It's completely free, but there's banners everywhere, adverts that you can't remove, which is one of the only instances in which I've kind of would have been happy to pay for it, because there's a lot of content on it. It looks like. Do you remember that PS1 game, Pandemonium?
Yes, the 2D, 3D thing.
Yes,
with the jesters. Yeah,
I'm probably describing it badly, but in terms of the colour and especially the panels on the ground that you're running on, it just reminded me of Pandemonium, but not necessarily in terms of the gameplay. When I first played it, I was like, wow, what a great idea, because my girlfriend handed it to me and I was playing levels and I kept dying, and I was like, fuck, but it would put me onto the next level, and because there's so many routes, and basically I thought that was a design choice, that they didn't want to hinder anybody, so if you can't do it this way, come back and do it another time. It turns out they were all unlocked and I was just progressing through them again, but I thought that was a really nice idea, even though it wasn't an idea of the game. It was just something that my brain did.
It's a nice idea though.
I thought it worked. I was like, wow, no one's done this before. I don't know whether it would actually work, because this is a game that I had no intention of coming back to. I played for about 20 minutes and I will never play again, although it's very good. Yeah, you unlock characters. It's just cosmetic. They look a bit wacky. It's good. If you've got an Android phone, and there's no reason not to download it. It's free. It's very good indeed.
Diversion, is it called?
Diversion, yeah.
Yeah, sounds alright. I'll never be able to play it, but yeah, it sounds cool.
It'll probably come to iPhone at some point, or maybe not. Who knows? I don't know.
Who knows?
Yeah.
My number 8 is an iPhone game. Talked about it last week. It's called Split, or Split, because it's got an exclamation mark at the end. How would you say it? I don't know. You shout it or something.
Probably.
Whatever. I talked about it very briefly last week, and I said I'd talk about it a bit more this week. If you can imagine, remember Alien Breed?
Yes.
Yeah, kind of graphics like that, top-down, Chaos Engine style, but chunkier. But you control 2 guys at once, independently of each other. So you're basically shooting guards, but you're doing it by flanking, because if you go up sort of head-on with them, they'll take you out pretty quickly. So there's cover everywhere, and you just kind of go up to the cover, and then it works as cover. So you'll have one guy shooting from behind cover, distracting the guy, and then you'll send your other guy around the back, and obviously it gets more and more complicated as you play. It's sort of halfway between a shooter and a puzzle game. In fact, it's not really a shooter at all, because you don't control the shooting. It's just one of those smart little iPhone games that you'd play for. You'd pay the 69p, you'd play it for whatever, depending on the length of your train journey, you go, yeah, that was just as good a use of 69p as the drink I bought or whatever, or the packet of crisps, cheaper than Quavers. So yeah, decent. Yeah, it's not a life changer, but yeah, I like it. It's smart and it's nicely designed for the system it's on, which is a big plus for me.
Okay. Yeah, that actually sounds all right. But can a game get chunkier than Chaos Engine? Those guys made the Gears people look like stickmen.
These guys have got heads that look like, oh no, they look like something that's in my mind. I can't even think what it is. They just have balloon heads.
Okay.
So they've got chunky heads. But yeah, no, you're right. They're actually pretty skinny.
Okay. Maybe I'm misremembering Chaos Engine. I don't
remember it being that chunk, to be honest. I remember Alien Breed. Alien Breed was pure chunk.
No, Alien Breed was like Muscle Man, but not too musty. Kind of the everyman Muscle Man.
Oh, the everyman Muscle Man.
You know, Bruce Willis Muscle Man.
I thought Chaos Engine was more just like cut guys.
I thought it was like big fat blobs and they would like move like the Gears guys. To be honest, that's one of the first things that came to mind when I played Gears. So I thought, I might be thinking of a completely different game. I might be talking...
I think it's been about 19 years since I played Chaos Engine. So
yeah,
I'll YouTube it afterwards.
Yeah. And prove me terribly wrong. Right, my number 8 is Starburst on the iPhone.
Is that after the suite?
No, it's not. It's a few weeks ago. I think I did it on the podcast. I said, "What the hell was that puzzle game on the Atari Lynx?" And you told me it was Clax.
Oh yeah.
And so I typed. When I finally remembered to do it about 2 or 3 weeks ago, I typed Clax into the App Store, and Starburst came up, and it was blatantly a rip-off of Clax. And it had a bad user review score, and it was £1.69 or £1.59 or whatever. So I was like, bollocks. But as the days went on, I caught a glimpse of who published it. And the company just started rattling around my head, and I thought it just kept jumping into my head to the extent that I've drawn a complete history of this company just based on what the hell they're called. Massive Holdings Incorporated.
Massive Holdings Incorporated.
What the hell kind of name is that for a business? Massive.
That's surely
Holdings.
a front.
Do you know what I mean? That's why I started thinking, blatantly, some 15-year-old kid, his grandma's died, left him some money. He started wearing his dad's suit to school. He goes and befriends the computer genius kid. He says, make a, rip off Clax and then we'll put it on the App Store and I'll split the money with you. And then he puts it on the App Store on the sly, and then ever since he's been hiding in his mum's closet. So that's the background of Massive Holdings Incorporated. But anyway, I spent such a stupid amount of time thinking about shit like that I just said, fuck it, I'll buy it. And I subsequently found out that it is actually made by one half of the two-man team who made the original Clax. Right. And it's all right. It's not as good as the original. The problem with anything like this is that you do need precision. And at first, it's really, really good. And I was like, wow, I'm actually going to take the time to go and leave a review on the App Store and say this is really good. But as it gets more difficult, which it does quite quickly, you can't. You can sort of move along either by sliding the thing that picks up the discs as they land, or tapping on the area you want. Right. So it's really effective when it's simple, but when it's hard, it's just too much. The phone can't really sort of handle it. So it's a bit of a shame.
Still, Massive Holdings Incorporated.
They're
going on to big things, I think.
I'm going to write about them. I'm going to write the biography all about
either that, or they're a bunch of Russian gangsters and they've just done a Clax clone to cover up their.
Do you know what I mean? There's so many possibilities. As soon as I saw that, I was like, Massive Holdings Incorporated.
Yeah, I'm just picturing Vigo in Eastern Promises playing Clax.
That sounds too interesting.
That's something I'd like to watch.
It's got to be a kid.
You reckon?
Some kid who just inherits a bit of money. He's like, yeah, Massive Holdings Incorporated. And then he stitches over the poor computer genius kid who built the game in the first place. But yeah, anyway, Starburst, I wouldn't bother.
But you did?
I did, because I'm in love with Massive Holdings Incorporated. But everyone else...
Man, I'm excited about Massive Holdings now. Number 7 for me is Manhunt.
Oh, wow.
So doing an article about it, so I played a bit more. Man, it's so different to how games are these days. You couldn't get away with a game like this these days, and I don't mean the violence. Everyone's talked about the violence a million times. Just in terms of how hard it is and how slow. It's just really, really unforgiving. The only games that ever get away with being that unforgiving these days are games that are designed like that, like Demon's Souls, Dark Souls, or, a really difficult action game that's built around being difficult, whereas this wasn't at all. In terms of how it was marketed or sold, it was just,
just
another Rockstar. Yeah, just a game. But I mean, sometimes you're waiting in the dark for 5-10 minutes, just analysing routines and working out exactly how you're going to take guys out. And yeah, it just doesn't feel. It just feels like a game from another time, which of course it is. And if you fuck up, you get sent back a long way. And I'm used to, if you fuck up, you basically get sent back to the low wall behind the wall that you're currently leaning against.
Yeah.
So but it's still a really impressive, nasty, grubby. Important's an annoying word. I don't really mean important, but like benchmark piece of work, I'd say, for many reasons. Partly because of the kind of satire it gives about video game violence, partly because it was just a sort of boundary pushing exercise by Rockstar, I think, to see just how far they could take it, and partly because a mainstream game being that hard, and I mean both in terms of how difficult it is to play, but in terms of the content matter, is you wouldn't get that in this climate, I don't think. So
what was the fact that it was difficult? Did that just piss you off?
No. Because I wasn't playing it to completion, I'm not going to finish it again. So, I was just more getting the feel of the game again and remembering how it was to play, and that's a real bonus. I think that's definitely where you get the tension from. Once you got past the violence and the setting and Brian Cox in your ear and all that stuff, it's just an incredibly tense game, and where most stealth games have chucked that in the bin. Rightly so in many ways. It's a bit boring sitting in the dark watching routines once you've done it in so many different games. It was kind of nice in a way to go back to something that was really pure. It's stealth's really binary. It's like you're either in the dark or you're not. If you're in the dark, they can't see you. If you're out, they can. Your footsteps can be heard. If you if you walk slowly, they can't hear you. So yeah, it's all about picking a moment, and then do you go for the really nasty kill? Why would you go for the really nasty kill? I really like that dynamic about the game as well.
Is there point? I can't remember if there was points. Do you get more points if you go for a kill like that?
You do, but this is, there was no achievements or anything back then, so you're doing it to get points. But what are the points for? I mean, it just constantly asks questions of you like that. Never, explicitly ask those questions. But okay, you're getting the points, but who are the points for? Are they for you? What's that for? Or are they for this? Director character who wants you to do that. That's one of the game's best achievements for me, that it managed to make you think about your actions. Why the hell would you want to do that? Unless you're a kid and you just want to see someone get his bollocks scythed off. As
we did.
Yes.
Which version of the game are you playing?
PS2.
Oh, okay, because I played it on the Xbox with the headset, so Brian Cox was in your ear, and then you could sort of... I never did it. I always switched the mic off, but you... and draw the attention of the people.
Yeah, I never got to do that. And obviously, if you made a noise, just...
Which is why I turned it off, because that did just piss me off. If you sort of spoke to anyone or moved or anything, it would... Yeah, but I mean, if you really wanted the ultimate experience, you'd sit in the quiet trying to do it like that.
Very cool idea.
Yeah, I hope they do an HD remake, although possibly unlikely.
Yeah, I'd say it's... Yeah, there might be a lot of furore again around it. If you really want to scum yourself out, watch the Manhunt Kill compilation on YouTube. I mean, I said last week it was tame compared to how it felt back then, but when you watch it all back to back, you're like, fucking hell. It's the sound more than anything else. Yeah. Those sound effects are horrendous.
Yeah. Okay. I will revisit that game one day, no doubt.
Holds up well, apart from the controls, which are weird. But
which they'll rectify when they re-release it, if they do.
Real talk.
Okay, my number 7 is London 2012, the official video game of the Olympic Games. I think it's just called London 2012. That's all that's written on the box and on the disc, but it's the official Olympics Games.
Anything new to say? Does it do anything new?
Yes. It's those games have for at least a decade. They've always been developed by Eurocom. And Eurocom were me boys, because they developed The World Was Not Enough on the N64, the most underrated game ever made. But the last few, I've kind of liked what they've done. They've always been a mixed bag. Some of the events have been terrible, some of them have been great, and that's always been the case, and it's true here. But it's in-house, it's Sega, and when it started, there's the Olympic logo, and then it goes to the main menu screen, and the main menu screen is just a guy's back as he stands on the top diving board. And you're like, okay, are you going to jump? Nothing, no sort of big fireworks, nothing. And I was like, God, they've stripped the budget out, they've rushed it, they've done a really, really cheap budget version of an Olympics game. But the absolute opposite is true. It's about as lavish a game. I mean, in this, where console games aren't selling anywhere near as well as people want them to, the fact that this looks as good as it does, and I don't know whether there's a very BBC vibe about it. I don't know whether the BBC sort of work with them, because all of the graphics, the music especially, it seems like you're watching it on the BBC. Really, really swish, really, or the TV network in America or wherever who's going to do the games. It's clearly been worked on. You're not used to seeing that kind of money spent just for a game, so its origins will be somewhere else. They've got official commentators. I meant to Google them because I'd never heard of them, because I don't know anything about this sort of thing. And again, the events are a mixed bag, but when they're good, like for example, there's this table tennis one, which completely rips off Rockstar Table Tennis. It doesn't use the buttons, it uses the thumbsticks, but it's really, really compelling. Archery is fantastic. The running, none of them are about button bashing anymore. Running, the sprint is about just getting it in the right sort of area, the bar, and then just hammering the button to the beat.
Okay.
Not to the beat, putting a beat in your own head, but
yeah.
And the swimming, the diving one's just a QTE, which is fine. But it's really nice the way they've presented it. That you start off and then you pick 2 events, and then you do 2 events, and that's day 1, and then you pick 2 more, and then you do day 2. It does feel like they've actually put a bit more thought into it, and some of it looks really nice. It's actually a really good looking game. And then all of that great stuff, and then you do kayaking, which is just hideous, fucking hideous. I played it twice. Jackknifed. The controls are just terrible, but on 2 occasions I jackknifed into the side of a wall and couldn't wriggle free, so I just sat there like an idiot, and it didn't time out, and you can't back out of anything without going right back to the main menu, and it's just like, so much good stuff, and then that. But I'm going to play it some more. By and large, it's actually really impressive. I think it's better than the Eurocon ones, although they were not perfect. It's actually really good. Yeah.
Is it Kinect or is it just controller?
It's Kinect and PlayStation Move, but I've got no time. Why would you do that?
Yes. That sounds all right. I've always liked a good athletics game. I'm all about it's all about all day international track and field on the PS1. One of my favourite ever games.
I don't know if I played that.
Oh, that's the boy of all time.
Is it better than that one we used to play on the Dreamcast?
It is, but that was good too. With Pinky, the fat pink guy.
The fat pink guy.
Yeah, he was good. That was what Athletics 2K or
I cannot remember.
God, no, that was a long time ago.
Yeah.
But yeah, Pinky. He's all right.
Yeah, he's my boy.
Another pink game, number 6, Lollipop Chainsaw for me.
My number 6 as well.
Yeah. Oh, okay, cool. So I've done a poor job. I've been way too busy, so I've not really been able to play much more. But I really want to play much more. I can't wait to get back into it. I don't really think I can add a huge amount into what I said last week, in that I love Suda's games when they click like this for me. I think the combat's underrated. It's not as good as a Bayonetta, but not every shooter's as good as Battlefield, but it doesn't stop them being fun. And all the jokes, sort of 80% of the humour lands with me. I like to think that it's sort of quite a fun, poking fun at how women are represented in games and how male gamers are. Just as a light bit of subtext that doesn't even really need to be thought about. And it just seems to have quite good nature to it. I follow James Gunn on Twitter now since I started playing the game, and he's just a funny, genial chap, and that kind of shines through in the game for me.
Yeah, it is amiable, and that's my number 6 as well. So I mean, it speaks volumes about how highly I regard Suda's games, that I think this is probably his weakest, but I still think it's terrific despite that. It's the rigid combat is the weakest combat system in any of his games by far. And if you compare it to something like Bayonetta, it's night and day, but it doesn't stop it being fun. I sat down and I started going through it again on hard, and I ended up, over the course of about 2 hours, taking it in turns, passing the pad with my girlfriend, who's better at it than I am, which is really quite worrying. And we did it on hard as well. But she enjoyed it as much as I did. She laughed at all the gags, even when we rescued someone and he said something like, "I'm going to jack off all over you" or something.
Yeah.
She laughed, and that's the one problem with these arguments that people are having about, is it misogynist? They always forget the number 1 rule. You have to allow the people that created it the right to create characters who will say that. Okay, that character said that he's a dick. It doesn't mean that the fucking guy who wrote it's a dick.
No, hell no.
And yet, it was really nice to see her enjoying it as much as I did and laughing at it as much as I did.
Yeah. I love the fact that the characters that you rescue are generally really like ungrateful. That's just funny. It just reminds me of how people are most of the time when you're walking around the street
and around a school. And that's why I like the way that all of the bosses, until it goes bananas in the right at the end, they're all high school stereotypes. So there's that stoner. I suppose you haven't got to the stoner hippie girl.
No,
and
I've
the
just
jock,
done the goth, and the the heavy metal Viking and the punk guy.
And you get to the greaser at the end, who's like on motorbikes and stuff. Yeah, it's. I think there's so much more has gone into that game than a lot of people want to acknowledge. But there's
a great Green Day gag in the punk guy, but I can't remember it. But I remember it making me laugh.
That must have gone. Have you got to the? You haven't got to the farmyard yet.
That's where I am, but I haven't played it yet.
Okay, there's loads of... I mean, they're not gags about Resident Evil, but all the bad guys look like those people at the beginning of Resident Evil 4.
Yeah.
And they all shout random things about farming, and then when you kill them, they're like, I love you, marry me, and stuff.
Oh, brilliant.
I'm sorry, I won't say any more about it.
No, that's cool. Well, to be honest, everyone on Twitter seems to think that it's a game that you're allowed to just say exactly what happens at all points, so I know most of what the great gags are, like the sight gags and the music gags are later on in the game, because people just don't seem to care, which has been a bit annoying.
That's a real shame.
Yeah, I don't know what it is about that game, because I think they do it about bloody Call of Duty, and I couldn't give a crap what happens, and I don't even know what happens in most of those games.
No.
But never mind. But yeah, what a fun game, and it seems to have done pretty well.
Yes, and it deserves to. I like it a lot. But really eye-opening that my girlfriend enjoyed it every bit as much as me, especially with people kicking off about it. But yeah, that was my number 6 as well, so go on with the 5.
Oh yeah, of course. So talking of people kicking off, my number 5 is Mass Effect 3.
Oh, wow.
So, I mean, say play, I didn't replay it. I've watched the extended cut ending that's come out, related to my own ending. And, I mean, I don't even think I need to spoiler tag this, because I'm not going to really talk about specifics, but for me, it's just kind of spoiled it. Not really what the content of the ending is, but just the fact that they did it, and the fact that now you had an interesting end. Before you had a really kind of interesting, maybe unfulfilling in some ways ending.
Enigmatic.
Yeah, that's the word. An enigmatic ending. I don't think it was the best enigmatic ending ever, but
that was the ending that they wanted to make, and they did it. So we should have let them have it.
Now there's loads and loads of exposition and some really, really, really crappy looking static shots of people in your crew like doing things like the end of a really bad 80s movie.
Oh.
And then there's some bits with the crew on the Normandy sign of like saying goodbye to Shepard because he's dead, but they're not lit properly. They're not lit with the same quality as the stuff that the rest of the game is, so it looks cheap. And it just really felt like, you're creatives and artists. I don't mean that as a way of saying games are art, whatever. That's another argument, another conversation. But they're trying to create so that there's an artistry to that. And they've just really... to me, they've let themselves down, and irrespective of what they've done with the ending, this doesn't feel like a director's cut later on the Blu-ray release or something. This feels like, we need to just give these people exactly what they want. And unsurprisingly, most of the people are still pissed off with what's happened because they decided what they wanted the ending of the game to be in their own heads. And for me, a lot of the arguments about the ending really reminded me of how people have picked holes in Prometheus.
Yeah, I'm the same. Yeah.
I mean that film has holes in it. It's not a perfect film, but I personally, and of course you're more than entitled to not enjoy it and have your own opinions. I'm not trying to say anybody's right or wrong. That's not really how I that's not my style. But when people start picking very, very small holes in it, I think you're just doing that thing where you see the wood for the trees or whatever the hell the saying is, and that felt like the same thing with Mass Effect 3 for me. Just all right, you're picking tiny little holes, but fuck me, it's a game about flying around space, meeting a bunch of aliens who all speak English. Let's start picking holes in that first before we pick tiny little things. Oh, the physics wouldn't be... How can you outrun this thing? Fuck off. Yeah.
That whole thing wound me the fuck up as soon as it happened, because you just have to... I've never... Anyway, that conversation's been had a million times, but it fucking pissed me off. I've downloaded the patch because I played through Mass Effect 3 because I was reviewing it so quickly that I didn't really get to appreciate it. So I'm going to go through it again at some point, and I'll see what the new endings are all about. But I thought they were fine, and at the end of the day, I didn't have that much invested in those characters. I had enough to keep me going through the game. And that's all you can ask.
Yeah.
I'm not going to stay. I quite like the endings, and I'm pissed off. Anyway, this discussion has been done, but yeah, I can totally understand why it's just.
It also seems like the new ending has cut off the only interesting thing that was. The only thing that was really interesting about the previous ending is like this theory, and now it just seems like that theory's been cut off in order to pander to people, rather than, because I still think that theory has to be the only explanation of what happened because of the way it's constructed. But ultimately, yeah, fuck it. We could talk about it all day, but I think they let themselves down. But that's what people wanted them to do, so what can they do?
Yeah, that's a damn shame. Irritating. Okay, my number 5 is Frontline Commando on the iPhone and also available on Android. Once again, it's a game. If anyone has got an iPhone and hasn't got the free app a day app, get it, because every time I only click on it once every couple of weeks maybe, but every time I go on there, there's a game that's normally £1 or a couple of quid and it's free, and this might still be free. So check Frontline Commando. It is absolutely, it's excellent, flat out excellent.
What is it?
It's for shorthand. It's gears on your phone.
Okay.
You can't move forward. You're always behind cover, but you dive between 4 areas of cover. It's a really nice looking game. I mean, especially when you're diving out of the way of gunfire or grenades. The fluidity with which you move and how responsive the controls are. It feels almost like you're playing a console game. The characters are meathead idiot. They crossed the wrong guy. The music sounds like, exactly as you'd expected. The menus look like Ghost Recon menus. I mean, it is generic to the power of 10, but it feels amazing. And there's just systems. More. First, it's destructible cover. So people start luzzing grenades and you have to go to another part of the map, but other parts of the map don't have ammo crates, so you have to make sure, you have to be strategic about it. And then there's hostages to avoid, and then you unlock Call of Duty style airstrikes, and some of them have missions that are kind of like Horde. Some of the missions can go on and you're like, is this game broken? No, the AI are just sort of sneaking around waiting to pop a shot at you. It's really, I mean, it is breathtakingly good. I think trying to put console games onto a phone is a fool's errand, and I haven't played what is that epic Infinity Blade. Yeah. But this is, I mean, when you compare it to stuff like EA's Battlefield or the Activision Call of Duty Zombies on the phone, which were terrible. Admittedly, this isn't, you're not moving around in 3D space, you're locked behind this cover, but it looks great, it feels lovely. I mean, you get a real kick when you shoot someone. There's loads of content. It's great. It's really great for an iPhone game. It's, I mean, I always thought that though, trying to put, like I say, what looks and is trying to ape an action game on a PC or a PlayStation or an Xbox is a stupid idea, but they've done it about as well as you can do it on a phone. I don't know if there's a free trial, but it might still be free. Frontline Commando, honestly, it's superbly good.
Damn, right, Frontline Commando, it's happening. I'm getting it.
I mean, honestly, I was so surprised.
Yeah, I'm going to write F. I'm going to write F on my notepad, and then I'll work out what that means in about 3 days. Nice. Right, sorry about the clicking, that was my pen. Number 4, another iPhone game that's horrendously good. And horrendously good? What a stupid thing to say. New Star Soccer. I'm not going to say a massive amount more about it. We talked about it plenty on the podcast previously, but yeah, it's my crack. I'll be playing it a long time. Well done to the chap that made it. I'm very happy. I hope you're making a lot of money because you deserve to, because you made a game that's everybody finds really, really fun, and you're charging 69 pence for it. So congratulations. If you're not playing it, play it.
Yeah, but I'm like that. Whenever people talk about it or I see people on Twitter discussing it, I'm like, as much as I dislike football, I did love that game so much for all of the half hour that I spent with it. But I just it had power.
Yeah, you mean with your personality, I'd say maybe be wary.
Yeah, that's why I just said, right, you're asking me for 69p, I'm done. That was the perfect excuse not to keep playing it.
Yeah. But if you can hack the addictiveness, then you got to do it.
I probably could, in all honesty, but I don't need another game that needs finishing or that needs ongoing attention. Okay, my number 4 is Project Zero Wii Edition on the Nintendo Wii. Have you ever played any of these?
I have played Project Zero 1, 2 and 3, I think, but not the Suda one. which I really want to play.
Which one's that? Is that
4.
That's not this one, is it?
No, well, I don't know. I don't know what this. That's Fatal Frame 4. They're called that as well. Fatal Frame, if you didn't know.
Yeah, I did.
And, yeah, that's the Suda one. I'm desperate to play that, but it's not out in the UK, or maybe it is. Good knowledge. We're good at this.
Yeah, I'd never played one of these games before. I was surprised to learn that it was Tecmo that did it. It plays like a Capcom game through and through. I say that there are some of the same things from Resident Evil. I've only done the opening hour. I mean, do you know which one I mean? It's the one where you're two. I don't know. There was not a lot of backstory, so I don't know how this relates to the first one or whatever. But it's two little girls. You start off. It's it's completely ambiguous about whether the other girl's dead, whether you killed her, whether she's and then you walk in and you find this little deserted village. I won't say much about it because I haven't played enough to really get to grips around what it is. But horror films don't scare me. Japanese horror films in particular don't scare me, and video games don't scare me. And this really did put the wind up me, really genuinely. And it doesn't do anything original. All of the things, there's a really kind of unsettling hum on the soundtrack. There's apparitions moving between doors, and they suddenly change the tempo of voices when you speak. It's the oldest tricks in the book. But it felt really fresh. And the other thing is that you can't really see what's happening. It's not because they lay loads of shaders on. So it's like the HD remix of Silent Hill. So you're just like, I can't see, and it's actually quite irritating. I tried to see what was, I tried to sort of get to grips with how the visuals worked. And I turned up the contrast because I was playing with the light on. And I swear it's a ploy to get you to switch the lights off. Because I ended up playing it with the lights off last night. And
on your own, man. That'll shit you up.
No, but properly. I mean, I've never got rattled by a game, and I was just like looking for a save point so I could switch it off and be like, "Yeah, I'll come back to you."
Yeah, them and the old Silent Hills they're real. That's proper.
Silent Hill never really did that to me. No,
the older ones.
No, I mean this was completely unique. Like I say, nothing it did has been done. Yeah, it does nothing new. But for some reason, and these little notes you find about how this village got massacred and stuff, it was just, I'm going to go back to it and I'll see what happens. But I'm so impressed at the moment. Wow. Although some of the controls are very similar to the controls in Resident Evil 4 Wii Edition, and for some reason they make fast turnaround not the same. You have to just shake one of the Wii remotes, which at the moment for me doesn't work. Maybe later on it will. Who knows? But impressed, big time.
Yeah, I do like those games, and like I said, I'm dying to play that, the fourth one. Yeah. The Suda one. Yeah, what a great combo. My number 3, talking of combos, segue, is EA MMA, which I believe you saw me playing yesterday with my younger brother who was here, which was nice. And
how did I see you playing it?
I was on it. I mean, on the friends list.
Oh, did I send you an invite to play Battlefield? Yeah, standard.
Yeah. Yes, same. We haven't played it for ages. I haven't seen my brother for ages to play some gameage. But we had some multiplayer games, some two-player games, and it's still unbelievably good. Some of the best matches, again, that I've had on anything. It picks up straight where we left off. There are a few issues with the game. The clinch game isn't very good. Ground game is a bit limited, but everything's balanced and works together. But somehow it just has some magic to it or something that you just end up having these wars that go back and forth. One guy gets dropped, he's just about to get finished, and he manages to catch a submission. The guy is out of it, you get back to your feet. Like the best MMA fights you could ever watch. Everything that could happen, but happening all the time. Amazing. Just like a little fat guy knocking out Brock Lesnar, the great Brock Lesnar that we did. Oh, yeah, we just had about 2 hours of utter gleam, and I'm so excited that EA and this team now has the UFC license. As an MMA fan, I'm very sad for the good guys at THQ that they're not doing it anymore, and their studio got shut down. That does suck a lot because they make good games too, and they certainly work their asses off. And that Nevin Dravinsky he's a fine chap, and I wish him very well. But from a pure sports games and mixed martial arts point of view, I'm very, very happy that this team is getting to do the game that they should be doing, the big game. The real talk of MMA.
That game's still sitting on my shelf, and it's one of those games I wanted to sit down and dedicate an entire evening to, and I just haven't got around to it. Are the servers cut off now?
Done. You get a message when you turn it on, and it's just like, all right, thanks. Thanks for being out a year and a half, and I can't play you online anymore, because it was Gleam online as well. It was so much better than UFC games online. Yeah, really, there wasn't really any lag. There could be, but most of the time there wasn't lag, and you could have just as good a match online, really, as you could offline. But, yeah.
That's piss poor.
Yeah, that's over. But still, I'm glad I've kept hold of it, and I'm very excited about the UFC game.
Is it going to be the same team that did that game?
When the announcement happened at E3, I still follow EA MMA on Twitter. I didn't even realise I did. They tweeted, and we're back. So yeah, it's the same team down in Orlando.
Wow, that's
I think
exciting.
Yeah, they're damn good. Damn good. And whether or not they would been, I think some preliminary and more than that work had been done on a sequel anyway, but that probably wasn't going to happen to EMMA for whatever reason. But I think that, all the stuff's there, so they're just going to refine it, and more money, I would have thought. I reckon it's going to be pretty special.
Nice. I look forward to that. I really do look forward to that, and it's saved me having to go back to this one. Although, you know what? I'm going to go back to this one very soon.
Very, very fun. If you can get someone who you learn it with, because if I was to play you, if we played it, I'd either be doing that thing where I hold back, or...
No, but that's what when you brought it down to mine, I was just like, I can't do this.
Yeah.
And I was
but
just like,
if you can learn it with someone, like another mate wants to learn it, then you'll have just amazing fights all the time.
Cool. Nice one. Okay, right, my number 3 is Beat the Beat Rhythm Paradise on the Nintendo Wii. I think it's called something else in the States and something else with an English translation in Japan. But yeah, Beat the Beat Rhythm Paradise is what it's called over here. If you've ever liked a rhythm action Bimani game, it's crack, basically. Have you seen it?
No, I heard about it today, weirdly. I heard people mentioning this Beat the Beat, and I didn't realise what it was until you just said it now.
It's monkey see, monkey do, and
right.
Everything has to go to the rhythm. So, but it's always something, it's got that WarioWare humour. So you're either controlling a dog playing badminton with a cat whilst flying planes over a city, or you're a pig in a business meeting trying to impress your boss by stopping, spinning around. Yeah, it's that kind of humour. But it all goes to music, and it's ferociously addictive. But I'll tell you what, it's one of the most brutal for a Wii game, especially. It's brutal because if you buy this for a kid, or a kid picks this up and he doesn't have rhythm, because contrary to what the game says, some people don't have rhythm. You won't get past the first screen, the first level, because it's completely uncompromising. If you fuck up a couple of times, it's like, no, go back and do it again. Really, it's surprisingly difficult. The other thing is that in terms of the artwork, everything looks like a child's drawing. It's ridiculously simple. So your first reaction is, why wasn't this a download? But then you sacrifice the quality of the audio, and then later on, basically you do bits that last about a minute. So spin the pigs in the chair, spin the pig, wah, wah, spin the pig, wah, 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 wah. It's all, and you're always tapping one or two buttons. It's ridiculously simple. And you build up and do all these ridiculous things until you get to basically what's a boss. Where
I think I've played the DS one ages ago.
Is there another
same structure?
So you play? They put all of those things together into like a song.
Yeah. I have played that.
I thought this was the first. Wow.
No, there was Rhythm Paradise on the DS, and there was a Game Boy. There's a Game Boy Advance one as well. Rhythm Tengoku, I think it was called. Yep.
That sounds like a game I've played. That's really weird.
Yeah, it's the WarioWare team, isn't it?
I assume. Well, it's very, very. It's got them written through it like a stick of rock, but horrendously addictive. But there's even little, in addition to the main game, there's a weird cafe area where you can hang out and just chat with a barista who tells you about how great coffee is, and you can play mini games. And one of the mini games, the mini games are ridiculous. They're ridiculous. One of them had me just completely hooked. It was called. What was it called? Mr. Upbeat. That's what it's called. And you were a stick man jumping over a metronome.
Right.
And you recorded your high score, and that was that. Ridiculous how compelling that was. But it reminded me of that time me, you, and Zeno got stuck playing that Left and Right Dancing
Left and Right Dancing Girl. Yeah. On Bishi Bashi.
Didn't you write that in a magazine?
Yeah, I did a half page on it on Games TM.
But it was that same compulsion where you can't put it down.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's hard to know how much content there is. I've played it a lot, but as I say, it's quite difficult. So, but I mean, it's horrendously addictive, but brilliant and hilariously funny. They get weirder and funnier as you progress. So,
I love games that make you laugh because it's a type of humour that doesn't really exist in anything else.
No, you're right. And this feels very specific. It's very Nintendo, whilst at the same time being not risque, but I've just done this one where you're this little girl interviewing a wrestler, and you alternate between answering her questions, showing off your pecs, and then posing for the cameras. It's hard to convey how amusing that is, obviously, on here.
I can imagine, though. I can imagine how it works.
And it's gotten progressively more and more amusing as it's gone on. But yeah, it's great. But I like rhythm action. I'm going to stick with it. So don't take my saying it's addictive to heart. It's great. Just play it.
Yeah, sounds sweet. Damn, a lot of interesting games coming out all of a sudden.
No doubt. And on the fucking Wii, 2 on the Wii. What the fuck?
Yeah. Damn. Random. Right, my number 2 is... this is really frustrating because it's a game I can't really talk about, but it is a game that I've played a load this week, so I've decided that I'm going to mention it and probably give people a little rundown on what the game is if they don't know. It's called Sleeping Dogs. It is the game that was formerly True Crime Hong Kong.
Yeah.
Now, I'm doing an article on it for a publication, and it's embargoed till next month, so I'm not going to go into opinions, really. It's kind of dry, but I figure people might not even know what the game is, so... It's an open world game set in Hong Kong where you play an undercover cop called Wei. What it does really well is, I guess I have given an opinion. What it does in the game is blend action, combat, driving, movement, all really seamlessly. So you can be like doing an Ong-Bak style running down the street, leaping over things, sliding under things, climbing over a wall, and then you're straight into a shooting section. There's no loading or anything like that. You just grab a gun off the floor and then it's a cover shooter. And then 3 guys will attack you and it turns into like a sort of Batman, Arkham City style combat game. And then it's an open world game as well. It was under the Activision banner and they ditched it and then Square Enix picked it up. It's out in August this year, and I can give you much more opinion on it in a few weeks. That this really sucks to even talk like that. But Sleeping Dogs. If you didn't know what it is, keep an eye on it.
I did a preview for True Crime Hong Kong. Is that what it was called?
Yes.
Like years ago, and I'm sure all of that cool stuff you just spoke about was, that's in the new team, because when it was abandoned, it did not look that promising at all.
It's not a new team. It's always been the same people, I think.
Well, I thought the whole development was shifted over to another unit. Was that not right?
I'm 87% sure that's not true, but I might be wrong.
Science.
Yeah.
No,
I'm pretty sure it was the same people, and then they... Damn, I don't know.
Because those true crime games have always been absolute pap.
But it definitely wasn't those people that did the other True Crime games, because that was Luxor Flux, who also did Kung Fu Panda. The first True Crime was alright, the second one was terrible.
I only played...
The second one was broken. It was a broken mess.
I played both and I just thought they were rubbish. I mean,
the first one was alright. You go down to hell and fight a dragon in the first one, and then Deftones plays. Yeah, it was alright.
Oh my word! I completely missed that.
I did all 3 endings on that.
I don't know
why.
It's just the Grand Theft Auto rip-off, wasn't it?
Yeah, but you're a cop and you could arrest people, but then it went batshit crazy in the second half, and it just turned into like every type of Hong Kong cinema cliche you could think of.
Jesus, that makes it sound even more interesting. But I never got that far.
But the new one is more of a straight game story-wise.
Yeah. Oh, but previewing it 2 years ago to hearing about it now and seeing footage, you're like, it's 2 different games, and I'm sure it's a different development team, but I might be wrong.
Could be. I'm terrible. I'm bad at my job. But opinions in a couple of weeks. I think it's a couple of weeks. I'll tell you what I think.
All right. Okay, my number 2 is Battlefield 3.
Of course it is.
Well, it should be number 1, but I have a server. I'm getting a lot of compliments. People are messaging me going, "Oh, thanks, man. You've got a great server. Favorited." And then I'm getting another batch of people saying, "I noticed that no one's looking after your server. I will be admin. Just make me admin, and I'll police it for you." And it's just like, no fucking way.
What a cult! It's like a whole culture, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a bit. I mean, like, just what would he do? I just let some kid go and sort of start banning people, whatever. I still love Battlefield, but and the pleasures of owning your server are powerful. But I saw I saw the same thing twice the other day, and I just exasperation doesn't cover it. I saw two servers completely independently of each other, and both of them had the same proviso.
What's that?
All air vehicles are reserved for admin. If you jump into a plane or a helicopter, you will be instantly booted.
Wow.
And
who'd play on that? But you might get quick matched into it.
This is my problem. For the majority, and I'd probably say the vast majority of people who play Battlefield online, the process is go to on multiplayer, go to quick match, and get what you're given. Because no one in their right mind would allow those twerps to fill their room with people. Because, I mean, like, dick. And it's just, it's so frustrating because so many people, I'm sure, are keeping those servers going because there's always people in them. And for a slightly smaller number of people, I mean, people who are, they play Battlefield, they're not gamers, they don't sort of stay in the loop, so to speak. I'm sure that when they do get booted from rooms like that, they think they've been booted by someone from EA or DICE. So they don't question
quite possibly.
it. And it's so terrible, man. It's just... that's awful. But yeah, it's nice to see that people are responding to the fact that I say no rules, and I'm in it. I'm not going to place rules on a game that already has its own fucking rule set, you twats.
Yes, too right. But you mean they've got you in the way that, if you don't like us, join us, isn't it?
Yes, and it's a shame. And those DICE servers that they put back on, I can't find them. Yeah. I think it was just a gesture and then they pulled them again, which is fucking wrong, but I'm part of the problem, I know, but I love Battlefield. I'm biased.
That you are, but I think it's an interesting topic that a lot of people won't even have any clue about, and half of them probably even play the game.
Yeah, indeed.
But from one shooter to another, my number one this week is Spec Ops: The Line.
Don't avoid spoilers. I'm so looking forward to it.
Yes, I will. So I reviewed it for Video Game. You can go and read my review on there if you like. It's a very interesting game, but interesting in a way that perhaps for me was slightly disappointing. What I mean by that is narratively and with some of the chances that it takes, it does stuff that no other shooter's done. In terms of its story, in terms of the stuff you face. Basically, if you don't know about the game, I talked about it before, and you probably do, but I will just give you a quick rundown. Your three-man team sent into Dubai has been destroyed by sandstorms, so it's basically doesn't look anything like it looks on a telly. Everything's covered in sand, it's ruined, and in there you're looking for this guy, basically, Colonel Conrad, and he's kind of gone native a little bit, and Dubai's tearing itself apart. There's a rebellion. I'm trying to talk about it without giving too much away. As you get further and further in, your soldier, Captain Martin Walker, of the name that I kept forgetting, starts to basically lose his mind. But the game itself is basically, it's a Gears clone, and it's a good Gears clone, but the problem I had is I played the first 4 or 5 levels, maybe even more than that, and on a preview build, which was identical, I have to say, to the final game. So it must have been a sort of final preview build. Playing it through the second time, I saw how scripted the AI is and how limited it is as a shooter compared to the really, really good shooters. The Gears of Wars of this world, and that kind of let it down because you've got all this interesting stuff going on behind the scenes, and the setting's really interesting, and the stuff that is actually good enough to talk about and promote discussion, but none of it ties into the mechanics because it's just a shooter, and you end up probably shooting 1,000 guys in this game as a 3-man team, and you're like, okay, if you're going to set up a story with gravity and moments that really have you thinking and sort of thinking about the kind of horrors of war, what could possibly happen, then okay, now I'm having another shootout where I've got to shoot 80 guys with a 3-man team. I just felt there was the words are narrative dissonance. I don't like using it because it's annoying, but yeah, that really what it is it's the Uncharted problem. That's basically what I said in my review. You've got this story, and then the action scenes where you're shooting everybody, your character feels completely divorced from the one that you're watching in the cutscenes.
I know what you mean. I've always managed to keep that separate. All I want to know is, because when I played it, I played the opening hour or so, and just as it came to the end of my hands-on, it started to go a little bit fierce, and I was like, oh, is it really going to sort of take you on a journey of a guy going mental? Does it go further than you expected, or does it?
Yeah, it does and it doesn't. Oh. If you read my review,
I read your review yesterday, but I think I skipped a couple of portions because I'm trying.
Obviously, I don't want to. I don't want to spoil anyone's enjoyment of the game. And I thought, hopefully, I did that in my review. I just said it doesn't commit to its ideology enough for me.
But wouldn't it be? I mean, you can't ask them to have a shooter where people don't get shot. It would be rubbish.
No. I'm not asking that at all. I think there's many ways you can do a shooter where you still shoot plenty of people, but it gets silly and the shootouts are too protracted. But even in terms of this kind of trajectory of one man losing his mind, it doesn't quite commit to that as much as I'd like it to, because there are moments where it does, but they are fleeting. But I don't want to say too much more than that. I still think it's a very, very good game, and I definitely think if you play through it, you won't be disappointed that you played through it. And you know what? I gave it a slightly lower score than a lot of people who liked it a little bit more than me. So, I dropped a 7 on it, but there's a hell of a lot of 8s going around, and from very, very good people as well, people who are smart and I think that really know what they're talking about. So, yeah, it is one of those games. Can you justify laying down that sort of money for it? Depends on all sorts of different factors. But should you play it? Probably, yeah.
I still have exorbitantly high expectations for that game. I mean, when I say exorbitantly high, I mean like 9 out of 10. Because I hope they do. I've got expectations, and I hope they're met. I'm going to play it this weekend, so hopefully.
Yeah, I genuinely hope that it hits those expectations for you, and we can chat about it next week. I really do.
Okay, wicked. Right, okay. My number 1 is Ratchet and Clank HD Trilogy on the PlayStation 3.
Oh yeah, I saw your review went up.
I'd never played any of these games before, not one of them, and I always associated them with the. I meant to Google this. There was another pairing before them.
Jack and Daxter.
Jack and Daxter. That was it. I played Jack and Daxter back in the day because a friend of mine raved about it, and I thought it was okay. I didn't really love it, but those were in the days where I didn't think anyone could make a great platform apart from Nintendo. So I was like, that was when I used to just sleep with my GameCube and shit like that. And they're really, really terrific, Ratchet and Clank. I played through the first 2 to 3 hours of the first 2, and then I've done a shitload of number 3 because they are basically the same game. I mean, the first one's very inspired. Have you ever played any of them?
Yes, yeah, they're more shooters than a normal platform game.
Not so much at the beginning. That's what I noticed. Like the first one is basically there are so many elements of Banjo-Kazooie. I thought it's basically an homage. Even the way the worlds are built, where certain nooks and certain levels go around to there's a lot of Banjo-Kazooie in the first one, and it's not as action heavy. Whereas the further they went on, and they started in the second one that you earn XP, and then you
I've only played the later ones, so yeah.
But yeah, ever since then, from 2 onwards, it's earn XP for your weapons and to build up your health. It's like an RPG sort of element a little bit, and you can strafe in action, which is really great because the first one's kind of hindered by the fact that you can't strafe, although it handles it quite well. It's not as good as the last 2, but I wasn't expecting much because somewhere inside me I still don't think that anyone makes platformers as good as Nintendo. But these were surprising. I mean, like really, it's uncommon for me to be gripped by platformers on any format, Mario aside. But this really had me from the get-go, and I played significant amounts of all 3, and it's got that really, really weird, very, very nice, pleasant sort of stoner surfer humour. It's a little bit juvenile. The action's great. The weapons are stupid. It's just I was like, wow, these are really good games, and they still hold up. They haven't gone to town on the HD either. They haven't put shading and detail on stuff where there wasn't one. It's just, so if you walk into a world and there was once a white wall, it's still a white wall, but it's just in high def. And you walk out into these arenas, and you can see everything that's in the distance where previously I assume you couldn't. So it's still the same game. It annoys me when they try and sort of add detail because that fundamentally changes it, and they also haven't changed the. It's got quite a brutal save system, like you were talking about with Manhunt. There were several bits where I'd get creamed, and then I'd go back like 15 minutes. And I'm like, what the fuck?
That's so weird, isn't it, to have that now compared to what it used to be like?
But I like the fact that they didn't try to turn it into something else. It's still those games, and if I played them, it'll be so nice because that's the best HD remix that I've seen. They haven't added too much detail to the visuals, and they haven't tried to retrospectively make it easier. It's still those games, and I'm impressed. They are fucking great, and I'm probably going to complete all 3. They're really good.
Damn,
really
I said that too much this week. I never really played them. I played the more recent ones, and I thought they were good, but not. They they felt more like shooters, especially the PS3 ones. But
I've heard the PS3 ones aren't a patch on these three, but I was not expecting it. I was like, wow, these are actually properly great, well structured, well written, just fun experiences, and they're kind of grindy because you're always picking up those little bolts and stuff. It's just they're good. They're really good, actually. I'm sorry, I completely undersold that. They're very, very fucking good. And if you have a PlayStation 3, and especially if you've never played them before, sort it out. Get involved.
Awesome. So for what should have been quite a quiet week, there's actually been quite a lot of stuff in there this week, which is good.
We've embarrassed ourselves. I'm just looking at the clock, and we were just shy of an hour. 20 games in 40 minutes. My fucking ranted testicle.
We do like that, 3 games in 40 minutes.
Yeah,
we're basically useless. But if you're still stuck with us, then thank you very much for listening, as always. So that's 20 in a can. Amazing. I can't believe we managed to do that 20 in 20 weeks.
Yeah.
But thank you very much for listening. Check us out on thefiniteplaylist.com. Follow us on Twitter, John Denton, Chet Roivus. What else is there? Mitch Murder does the soundtrack. He's top boy. You can listen to us on Stitcher. I still don't know what it is, but go and have a look at it. And we love you all. Peace.
Junior champ.
They'll take you out pretty quickly. So there's cover everywhere, and you just kind of go up to the cover, and then it works as cover. So you'll have one guy shooting from behind cover, distracting the guy, and then you'll send your other guy around the back. And obviously it gets more and more complicated as you play. It's sort of halfway between a shooter and a puzzle game. In fact, it's not really a shooter at all, because you don't control the shooting. It's just one of those smart little iPhone games that you pay the 69p, you play it for, whatever, depending on the length of your train journey, and go, that was just as good a use of 69p as the drink I bought, or whatever, or the packet of crisps, cheaper than Quavers. Decent. Yeah, it's not a life changer, but I like it. It's smart, and it's nicely designed for the system it's on, which is a big plus for me.
Okay. That actually sounds all right. But can a game get chunkier than Chaos Engine? Those guys made the Gears people look like stickmen.
These guys have got heads that look like, they look like something that's in my mind. I can't even think what it is. They just have balloon heads. Okay. So they've got chunky heads. But no, you're right. They're actually pretty skinny.
Okay. Maybe I'm misremembering Chaos Engine. I don't remember
it being that chunk, to be honest. I remember Alien Breed. Alien Breed was pure chunk.
No, Alien Breed was like Muscle Man, but not too musty. Kind of the everyman Muscle Man.
Oh, the everyman Muscle Man.
Bruce Willis Muscle Man.
I thought Chaos Engine was more just like cut guys.
I thought it was like big fat blobs, and they would like move like the Gears guys. To be honest, that's one of the first things that came to mind when I played Gears. So I thought, I might be thinking of a completely different game. I might be talking.
I think it's been about 19 years since I played Chaos Engine. So I'll YouTube it afterwards.
Yeah. And prove me terribly wrong. Right, my number 8 is Starburst on the iPhone.
Is that after the suite?
No, it's not. It's a few weeks ago. I think I did it on the podcast. I said, "What the hell was that puzzle game on the Atari Lynx?" And you told me it was Clax.
Oh yeah.
And so I typed. When I finally remembered to do it about 2 or 3 weeks ago, I typed Clax into the App Store, and Starburst came up, and it was blatantly a rip-off of Clax. And it had a bad user review score, and it was £1.69 or £1.59 or whatever. So I was like, bollocks.
Where brevity is paramount.
Hello and welcome to episode 20 of Chet and John's reassuringly finite gaming playlist. My name is Chet Roivas. With me as usual is John Denton.
Hello.
Over the next 40 minutes or so, John and I are going to take it in turns to go through the 10 games that we've been playing over the past week. We're going to go back and forth, make our way from 10 to 1, number ones being the two games that we've been playing the most over the past week. We're both fortunate enough to work in this games industry, so hopefully it's going to be new and upcoming stuff rather than old shit. So, John, number 10.
Right, straight in number 10. Just a quick one. Been doing a bit of Pixel Junk 4am this week, just a little bit. I've talked about it plenty before, as have you, but I just like sticking it on when, just as a, I said it before and the word sucks, but just to center myself a little bit. I can't think of a better way of describing it, so I'm just going to use that annoying word. Just really good way of kind of taking my brain out of the day and enjoying the music for a minute. It doesn't really feel like a video game. I put it on to get into that video game mode in terms of how my mind's working. More the opposite. But very nice piece of work.
I haven't played it since like the week I bought it. Is the track sustaining it so far?
There's so many small little alterations you can do to the tracks, and I just kind of get into the loop, really. I mean, in an ideal world, there'd be hundreds of tracks, and it would be less. Deep house. We couldn't work out what it was called, could we?
Deep house sounds about right.
Yeah.
I don't know if the beat's the same speed, but I mean, you're an arsehole if you're that pernickety about bloody dance music.
Yeah, but I mean, in terms of dance music, personally, I tend to prefer stuff with a bit more energy, but I don't think that would work as well in this game because it's all about the very small changes that you make when you're mixing it with the move. But yeah, really good. I'll probably play it every now and again for a long time.
Yeah, I need to get back on it. It's a bad boy. Okay, my number 9 is my number 10 is Ring Fling on the iPad.
Oh yeah.
Picked it up. Had a few games with my girlfriend. Really, I mean, it is what you said. It's just very fun. It's a genius idea because it's so simple. Very, very, very entertaining. But I kind of, perhaps we're spoiled by how good 69p iPhone games are. Was there really? It's not a game that has much business being a quid more than that.
Yeah, I know. I took that more as the guy needed to pay his bills more than anything else.
I mean, it's good. I mean, I'm probably going to get as long as I have an iPad, I'll get the money's worth out of it. But it's just the presentation's so basic, and I
don't really disagree with that. It does overprice itself out of the market a little bit.
Yeah, it's a shame because it could clean up if it was 69p.
Yeah, I don't really disagree. But yeah, I think after I picked it up and then read the guy's blog, and it's just one guy, so I was just like, everyone needs to get paid in this life, and it's still pretty cheap, really.
It is. I mean, it is very good, and it is in the grand scheme, it is cheap. And you know what? Like I said, over the course of my iPad's life, I'm sure it's going to come out several times.
Yeah, it's just a good laugh, isn't it?
Yes, it is. There's unlockable gameplay mods. Did you unlock any of those?
Yeah, as you play, they'll just unlock after matches.
I take it they're not fundamental changes.
They aren't huge changes to the way the game plays. They're more like little perks that affect everybody, like a much bigger ring, or the rings you fire out do more damage, like they're heavier, stuff like that. So, or one where your little zone where you're trying to get the thing in expands over time.
Oh, yeah.
But they'll sort of come on randomly during a match and last about 10-12 seconds and then stop.
Oh, okay.
So it just makes the action more exciting. Because he's got it so they unlock, the more you play, it just gives the game more variety and a bit more reason to keep playing it.
It doesn't really need that, but as I said, very good. Would have been excellent if it was half the price, but hey ho.
Yeah, I ain't going to hate Android in there.
Yeah,
how's this happened?
My girlfriend's got like 6 phones, and she said she said this game is great. I tried it, and it's really nice. It's really good. It's a platformer, but all you do is jump, so you're always running. That's never, that's constant.
Right.
There's loads of secrets. There's loads of unlockables and stuff. It's completely free, but there's banners everywhere, adverts that you can't remove, which is one of the only instances in which I've kind of would have been happy to pay for it, because there's a lot of content on it. It looks like, do you remember that PS1 game, Pandemonium?
Yes, the 2D, 3D thing.
Yes,
with
I
the
mean,
jesters. Yeah.
I'm probably describing it badly, but in terms of the colour and especially the panels on the ground that you're running on, it just reminds me of Pandemonium, but not necessarily in terms of the gameplay. When I first played it, I was like, wow, what a great idea, because my girlfriend handed it to me and I was playing levels and I kept dying. I was like, fuck, but it would put me onto the next level. And because there's so many routes and... basically, I thought that was a design choice, that they didn't want to hinder anybody. So, if you can't do it this way, come back and do it another time. It turns out they were all unlocked and I was just progressing through them again. But I thought that was a really nice idea, even though it wasn't an idea of the game. It was just something that my brain did.
It's a nice idea, though.
I thought actually it worked. I was like, wow, no one's done this before. I don't know whether it would actually work, because this is a game that I had no intention of coming back to. I played for about 20 minutes and I will never play again, although it's very good. Yeah, you unlock characters. It's just cosmetic. They look a bit wacky. It's good. If you've got an Android phone, and there's no reason not to download it. It's free. It's very good indeed.
Diversion, is it called?
Diversion, yeah.
Yeah, sounds alright. I'll never be able to play it, but yeah, sounds cool.
It'll probably come to iPhone at some point, or maybe not. Who knows? I don't know.
Who knows?
Yeah.
My number 8 is an iPhone game. Talked about it last week. It's called Split, or Split, because it's got an exclamation mark at the end. How would you say it? I don't know. You shout it or something.
Probably.
Whatever. I talked about it very briefly last week, and I said I'd talk about it a bit more this week. If you can imagine, remember Alien Breed?
Yes.
Yeah, kind of graphics like that, top-down, Chaos Engine style, but chunkier. You control 2 guys at once, independently of each other. So you're basically shooting guards, but you're doing it by flanking, because if you go up sort of head-on with them. Number 9, a game that was half the price far too quickly, unfortunately, Shadows of the Damned, a game that you and I love.
Yeah.
As I said, I'm on a bit of a Suda tip at the moment, which is ridiculous as I still haven't finished my number 6, Lollipop Chainsaw, but I thought I'd stick on Shadows because I finally got it back off my brother, who I lent it to, and he never even played it, which is his favourite special move. So I just put it on, played the very, very, very beginning on hard, and just excited to play it through again. Really criminal that... Not really criminal, but it's just a shame that a lot of people maybe didn't quite get it, and or played a bit of it, didn't get on with the humour straight away and thought the whole game would play exactly like it does at the beginning. But if you know anything about Suda's games, they always changing as you play them, and so many new ideas come through. And like a Nintendo game is always full of millions of ideas, and they're always brilliantly executed. A Suda game's like the guy that got sacked from Nintendo for his ideas not making sense, but still, by the end of Shadows of the Damned, you've been through so many different crazy things and crazy ideas, most of which hit, I'd say. I'd take that all day over something a bit slicker that is one note.
No doubt. I mean, I had to compile a list of my 10 best games of the year or whatever, and if I was being honest, that would have been number 1, because I enjoyed that so much, and after I got it, I didn't play anything else for probably about 2 weeks, because I played through it about 3 or 4 times.
You did, didn't you? I remember, yeah.
You couldn't stop me. I do love that game, and it's... Oh yeah, well, it's great.
Yeah, and it pisses on Resident Evil 5 as a Resident Evil sequel.
Oh yeah, and to be honest, it pisses on Lollipop Chainsaw, much as I love it.
I think it probably does.
To be honest, I think Lollipop... well, we'll get to that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love Shadows. Fucking great.
Yeah, I really hope... you can probably get it for about 40p now, so... Yeah, it's a slick game. It's a slicker game than his other games, I'd say, in terms of the mechanically, because you've got that real Shinji Mikami influence in there.
Yeah.
And it plays properly.
Love it. My number 9 is a game called Diversion, which, as far as I know, is only on Android phones.
Damn, getting the